everybody, welcome back if this is your first time visiting. My name is Tina Hurley. I'm the founder and executive director of Less Leg, More Heart. We're basically a support advocation system that helps people transitioning into disability, specifically amputees, by providing support supplies and services to improve their quality of life, namely improve their wellness and to improve really the way that they face the world and the sources that they find in the world to assist them in their journey. This platform, our YouTube channel, our cable network, what we're trying to do is provide a platform for inspiration, a place that's a positive learning environment where we can bring health and wellness experts or people that have really vetted goods and services to you so that you can learn about the methodologies that are out there to promote health and wellness, and also some of the places that you can go if what you hear sounds interesting. So today I'm really excited because the first thing I want to do is speak about the elephant in the room as I introduce our amazing guest. But as you notice, she is not wearing shoes and my hair is not dry, which you might think is odd for being on camera, but it all fits into this theme. I want to leave you with a little cliffhanger. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to Teri, the owner and director of Wellness Hot Yoga in Haverhill, Mass. Teri, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here and be able to talk to you and to share what we're offering to people.
We're lucky
to get the word out.
We're lucky that we have this platform for it because more people need to find out, because the more that know, the more that are going to be drawn to this type of health. And maybe you could share with our listeners why you don't have shoes on and why I don't look like I'm ready.
So I am the owner and director of Wellness Hot Yoga. We are a hot yoga and wellness studio located in Haverhill, Massachusetts. We are a wellness center that offers yoga classes that are incredibly accessible to everybody. We also have red light therapy, a sauna, massage therapy, facials, and a float therapy tank.
Well, tell us more.
So a float therapy tank is we have an open tank that's accessible. We have a large float tank. A float tank is a tank of water filled with, has over 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt. So you are literally weightless when you're in it. So it lets you float. And as you probably experienced, you get in and you sit down and then you lean back and the water literally just holds you up.
So the cat's out of the bag. That's where I just came, is right from that accessible float tank. But yes, you're right. You just get swept up and totally supported. And it's hard, actually, to kind of relax all the way. I found it hard for me, as someone that doesn't practice regularly, to just not tense muscles. I had to do a head-to-toe check to go, you're okay, you're safe, everything's got you, and to relax.
That's a really normal first experience. That's why we tell people, all of our experiences, the yoga classes, the float, it's always good to do a few, and we make it so that packages are designed so that you can do a few and make it so that you have a couple tries to go oh, now I know what this experience is. Look, we're all nervous in the first time we do something, right? So there's that fear of the unknown, so it's hard to let go, and especially if you've floated in pools and things where you do have to hold yourself up to let go of that and just let your body go. And there's some really good meditation techniques that we help people with to do that. After a few, it becomes this thing, and that the minute you get in, everything just relaxes, which is really nice.
I can attest to that, especially because as soon as your head gets below the level of the water, all of any noise that you might hear, any small faint buzzing or any excitement for the class that's about to start, or any, anything that might be happening above just fades into that hummy, melodic kind of thickness of the water, the soothing feeling. And with some of the light accommodations that are made, there's so many things. Okay, so we could dig into all this stuff, but let's back up because I'm so excited. Number one, this facility really warmed my heart and drew me there because Teri has had an event in her past that made it important for her to accommodate folks that have different abilities and maybe mobility devices, and that just aren't the standard, typical walking, talking American that we see advertised in all these wellness studios. And one of the most impressive things that she said to me was, I want my studio and the members of it to represent the diversity of what's out in the community. And that was powerful, because how many times do you see ads or any kind of marketing geared toward people that are not physically as apt? People in wheelchairs, people that have prosthetics, people that have knee scooters, or people that have crutches or canes. And furthermore, if they were to, that actually go the extra mile to be proactive in setting the space up to ensure that safety and comfort are all accounted for. People can navigate through doorways, people can access different things, people have safety bars put up, people can get to a water fountain from a wheelchair. People can get in and out of stalls or in and out of the amenities because someone was thoughtful enough to create a space that's wheelchair accessible. It takes more money, it takes more time up front, and that's a deterrent, unfortunately, for some people, even though the ADA has been in existence for more than 30 years. Not with Teri and not with her establishment. And so I wanted to tell you first what had happened to her and why this is even on her radar, and what kinds of amenities beyond the ones maybe I had mentioned that her facility offers, which to me is really the selling point for this being one of the highlights of community-based wellness centers.
Yeah. I can back up all the way back to 30 years ago when the ADA was looking to be passed. I was in school to be a sign language interpreter. So I was going to those rallies and supporting the ADA at the time. These are important things to be able to let people access. Everything in the community should be accessible. So I went to school to be a sign language interpreter. I worked in mental health for a long time, community-based and psychiatric units. And at one of my jobs in a psychiatric unit, I was injured. And I injured my spine, and I had a C1 to C7 spinal injury where I ruptured all the discs in my neck. And was put in a brace, told, that would heal, and when they took the brace off, I couldn't move my head at all. I was just stuck. And they sent me to physical therapy. This will help. At the end of physical therapy, I couldn't move any more than I could when the brace was taken off. And then the neurologist said to me, at some point, we're probably going to need to take out all the discs and put a rod in your spine, just fuse your neck. But put that off as long as possible, because there is a possibility of being a quadriplegic with that kind of surgery.
No big deal.
No big deal. So get your daughter out of high school, which she did graduate high school. But he said, try yoga, try chiropractic, try acupuncture, try everything before you do this. And so I tried yoga, and I couldn't do it because not just my neck was injured, but a shoulder injury too. Up dog, down dog, all of that. None of that was accessible to me. I couldn't weight bear on my arms. A lot of people can't get up and down off the floor. And my sister took me to this yoga class, and she said, no, it's going to be fine, and we don't do any of those. I knew in that first day that I was going to be a yoga teacher, and I was going to do this for the rest of my life. And my husband, when I went home, wanted to know what color was the Kool-Aid they served you, because he was like, you're going to be a yoga teacher? Like, where did that come from?
Just saw the spark light up
yeah,
right in your eyes.
I just knew that this was like my calling, and I was going to do this for the rest of my life. But one of my main goals has been to make the yoga accessible to everybody. And I have this real belief system that nobody should live in chronic pain, and that there's a solution to it. And the yoga that I teach is really helpful to help people make those transitions out of living in pain and coming to a place where they're living a really good quality of life. And COVID came, I opened a studio, and we were as accessible as I could be, and COVID came and we shut down. And I wasn't sure what was happening next. We really closed, like we completely closed the studio, which was originally in North Andover. And someone came to me and said, look, we have this space in Haverhill that has locker rooms and a sauna, and would you come look at it? And I came and looked at it, and happily the locker rooms are really accessible. They have wheelchair accessible sinks. They have that beautiful stone sink that you can wheel right under. It had showers with the seats, and I was like, this is the wellness center I've always wanted to have. And so we ran from there, and everything we thought about really thoughtfully, like, how do we be more accessible, more accessible, more accessible? And it isn't just, the yoga I teach is really accessible to physical, but also deaf people can come because I'm fluent in sign language, and we can compensate in classes with that. Blind people, I mean, everybody. We want everybody to be able to come and use the facilities, because there isn't a lot of places you can go that is really that accessible. I've gone to yoga studios. I teach teachers around the world, and a lot of what I do is teach them how to work with people who have mobility issues, how to help them with the postures. And we do the same series of postures each time. So you can create that accessibility for the posture, and then as people become stronger and more flexible, they do more of the posture. And so I do a lot of that work, and it would devastate me when I go to other places and I'd walk in, and you walk in the door to go to the yoga studio, and there's a giant staircase up to the second floor, and there's no elevator. I go, how do you get your sick people in here to make them well?
They just get sicker at home.
Yeah, they just get sicker. And it's these chronic things, like Western medicine is really good at taking care of acute injuries. But chronic pain, chronic problems are really hard for Western medicine to deal with. And there are things like yoga and other complementary techniques that help, but only if they're accessible to the people who need them.
And add to that the other layer of affordability.
Right.
People are spending all of this money on their pharmacology
Right.
and their medications because that's the avenue as a prescriber, as a Western trained clinician, that I could treat people. If I could have written prescriptions for a wellness studio and yoga and had committed patients that understood the value in those services versus the quick pill,
Right.
and the longevity that I would be promoting if I were to do that rather than the pill, we would change the whole system. It's just not built that way, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you were able to design it is amazing. Furthermore, I want to just highlight some of the other features within the facility, because it's not just the yoga, and it's the yoga and it's accessible, but also the teachers are taught to be more accessible. I mean, there was a situation, we can go on for days about it, but where you had someone that could not get on the floor. And so they were only able to do pieces, and you brought the floor to them.
Yeah, so she was a student who had had a knee replacement that had got infected and then had an allergic reaction. Like, she went through all this really, like, just a medical crisis. And very traumatic emotionally, too. So she was coming in most of the class at the beginning, she would just sit, and she would try to do a bit in the chair, couldn't stand, couldn't get up and down off the floor, because we only get up and down once, which is nice. For a lot of people who have mobility issues, knowing that if they can get out of the chair once and get down to the floor, now we're on the floor for the rest of the class. We're not going to get up and down. Mm-hmm. She couldn't get on the floor because she would never be able to get back up again. And it racked my brain, and I realized one day, like, okay, if I can't get her to the floor, how do I get the floor to her? And I realized I had this massage table, and I thought, how low does a massage table go? And when I lowered it as far as it would go, the nice thing was the legs were really doubled, and so they were these thick, broad legs. It had this nice base, and I crawled around on it. It was really stable. So we had a massage table that we folded in the room, and when she would pull up outside, the teachers would run in the room and put the massage table up. And little things like asking her, where do you want to practice today? So the massage table is not always in the same spot. We set it up here. We want to know, like, where do you want to practice? Because I think a lot of times people with mobility issues, sometimes all new people want to hide in the back. In the yoga class, all new people are like, I just want to be in the back where no one can see me. But I think that a lot of times, the ballet bar is in the back of the room, so that my ballet bar is in the front corner, so that if you need the ballet bar, you can stand in the front and see yourself in the mirror. So asking people, where do you want to practice? And so we would say to her, where do you want to set up the table today? And she would usually do the back, so it wouldn't be in people's way. But it's about giving people that choice, too.
There's so many features of this I want to highlight, and then we'll get to the amenities. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours. The massage table isn't innovative. The racking and racking and racking of her brain to find a solution, and the ownership that you took for that person's well-being, that is progressive. That's where we seem to have disconnected in a lot of pieces of society, is that accountability and that ownership, that extra step of caring. And that's really what makes the difference, not just in being a business and getting clients, but in like making a difference in people's lives. That could be the difference between somebody being suicidal or not. It could be the difference between someone accidentally ODing on pain meds or not. There's some serious repercussions to people not feeling welcome, not feeling that things are made accessible for, not feeling like they have a place outside of the couch of their house. And it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. But furthermore, just the consideration of communicating with the disabled community. It's such a simple thing to say, but in all of my adaptations to fitness seminars that I provide, and in all of my consultations for people that work with disabilities that I do, and just in talking with humans in general on social media platforms and any media platform, saying it's only weird if you make it weird sounds so simple, but is the best truth I can say. Yeah. This person has lived with this thing since they started with their journey in this. Right. They are going to be more of an expert on it than you. You can offer suggestions, but if you just ask them what they're feeling and what they do, that's a great starting point.
And I do get that a lot, because I do a lot of consulting work with studios all over the world. I get that question of, I have this deaf student who wants to come, but I don't know sign language, like, how do I accommodate them? And I go, they've been figuring out how to communicate with people their whole lives. Like, you'll be fine. And ask them how. Like, how can I best, I have a blind student coming. Well, every blind person is different. We had at one point in my studio, we had 2 deaf-blind people that were coming. And people said, well, how do you accommodate a deaf-blind student? I said, no, these are totally different human beings. And how one of them knows sign language and has a fair bit of vision left. One of them has almost no vision, but hears a little bit, but doesn't know any sign language. So like every person that comes in is going to be different, but that's true of every person that comes in the room, regardless of some label that's been put on them. Just deal with the person who's in front of you and let them teach you their tools, and then you offer them what you have as well. And we figure it out together.
It's so good because we're promoting the idea of inclusion by creating an accommodating space, but we're also promoting the theme of just communicating the same with everyone, the real sense of inclusivity and equal, right? Equality is treating people similarly and giving them the same opportunities as other people. Yeah. And by just talking to them like every other person, you make them feel more at home, you make them feel like they're not odd or different, or people can sense other people's discomfort with their circumstances. And so the open curiosity, I mean, my son, we're taping in the studio, and everyone knows that I'm a single mom running around on one leg, so it's not a big secret, but you know, my son ran into the studio, and there was a gentleman that uses a wheelchair here, and someone just ran up and said, your son just jumped up in the lap of the gentleman in the wheelchair in the other room, and so I felt obligated to go say hello and say, hi, my name's Tina, because my son had just accosted this human. But someone said, he's so polite. I said, no, they don't see. No. They don't see what's wrong, and they don't approach with fear. They approach with curiosity because they're special. There's this uniqueness, and they want to see and understand. And I think if more adults could take a page from that book, as you have, we really would feel better about disability, and we would naturally understand the sense of importance of inclusivity genuinely, even as business owners. So without veering off too far, because we just could go so deep in the importance here, but there's a lot of other amenities at this yoga studio that I wanted to highlight, and kind of what matters about the therapy and why it's important in wellness for general education for the community. So maybe you could talk about red light therapy, the float water itself, and the meditation space, right. And maybe the massage. If there's a way you could touch on each of those and why you felt it was important to have those in your facility. Yeah,
I think because they all work together. So all of these modalities work together to create this idea of wellness. And wellness is just an approach to life. You can be very fit and be unwell, but you can't be well and not be in some way fit. So the red light therapy, a lot of our therapies are designed to reduce inflammation, because that's one of the big problems that creates mobility issues, right? If you have inflammation going on, it's hard to move, and internal inflammation is an autoimmune response. So a lot of our therapies help with that. So the red light therapy is infrared and far infrared lighting that actually penetrates the skin and excites the mitochondria. If you remember like 7th grade biology, the mitochondria is the energy center of the cell.
We had to draw it in colored pencils.
Yeah. So the mitochondria is the thing that produces the energy that the cell is making to do whatever that cell's job is in the moment. So by increasing the activity of mitochondria, you're actually getting these cells individually to make more energy to help you function better. But in doing that, you also create faster cellular turnover. So you have more younger cells. And for people who aren't able to move a lot of that cellular turnover starts to slow down because they're immobile, sitting a long time, that kind of stuff. So getting in that room, and the rooms are designed so there's panels on both sides, so you can come in. If you can stand, you stand between the panels. We also have stools that are open on both sides, and we have a fully wheelchair accessible room as well that has all the panels on one side. So you can come in a wheelchair and just treat from the front. Or from the back, or whatever you need to do. So red light therapy is really fascinating. It does a lot of things because it works on a cellular level. It sort of weirdly fixes everything. It kind of works on everything. It's hard to say, there's studies that show it increases hair growth for balding men, and increases testosterone levels, and it changes your cellular turnover of your skin. If you have a surgery, those scar tissue turns over faster, so the scar tissue doesn't get as hard. It kind of does. It's a weird thing, but it does sort of weirdly everything.
They really need to sell this in popsicles. We can just use red light popsicles as we drive around.
You just suck on the popsicles. There's a lot of red light therapy out there being used in a lot of places, and there's a lot of it being sold sort of like for skin care especially. There's very popular the red light masks and these little red light things, but these are industrial size. These are big medical quality.
They are intense.
Yeah, they're medical quality red light therapy. So that's not it's really good quality. It's a medical product.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then what about the dry sauna? Why dry saunas? We see everybody in Europe doing it all the time. Us Americans are slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
But we know there's something to it, and I know a little bit about it, but maybe you could speak to why that's important.
Again, still inflammation, so decreasing inflammation in the body. Super relaxing. Just being in that kind of dry heat lets the muscles relax. There's some newer studies about cardiac care and saunas, and how that sauna is actually, because it changes your heart rate when you're in the hot, dry sauna, that's actually good for your heart muscle. And I don't have all the details of
No, I have heard that as well.
Yeah.
I also heard over in Europe, and all of my researcher friends, I'm sure you'll text me if I'm off a little bit, but that HGH production had been shown to be increased in men because they do sauna so frequently.
Yeah.
So there's something to it, hormonally, cardiovascularly.
Yeah.
And it just, like you said, feels good.
It feels good, especially in the winter in New England. It's nice to come in and maybe just defrost for a little bit.
You know what we're not doing when we're sitting in a sauna? Eating a bag of Cheetos.
That's right. There's nothing wrong with eating a bag of Cheetos.
No.
Everything in a balance. Everything in a balance. Yeah.
We're spacing out our Cheetos when we're in that sauna.
Yeah, and drinking more water. Like, there's certain things that happen when you start practicing yoga, when you start doing the red light, when you start doing the sauna, and this becomes part of your weekly activities. You do tend to want to eat better. And
It's
you
an
do tend
avalanche
to
effect.
want to
Yes.
drink more water because you've been sweating. You want to do those things, and it actually, it starts to create this whole environment where everything in your life is impacted because you've taken this one small step towards wellness. It starts to impact everything else you do. The float tank, which you got in today.
So beautiful.
A lot of the float therapy tanks are like these pods where you close the cover. They're considered sensory deprivation tanks. And ours is not a sensory deprivation environment because you can still hear a little bit. But we've done, there's a bit, we've made it so it's sensory, it's not deprivation, but it's low sensory, right? So the lights go off after you've been in the tank, and that's automated, so there's nothing you need to do. You just get in the tank. There's a light in the tank for people who don't want to be in the dark.
And pro tip, if you push it five times, it'll cycle through all the colors.
Yeah, you get we call it the disco light, right, where it changes colors. The tank itself is filled with, it's like a pool. It's like a square size of a small pool.
It's slightly bigger than a Tina starfish because I had my limbs all the way out and I couldn't touch either. I barely could skim it in a tea.
Yeah,
so it's
and
big.
It's big enough to fit a larger person and a taller person. Part of the reason we went with that size tank is my manager of the studio is 6'7", and a lot of the tanks are too small for him, so that tank can fit him as well. And yeah, you can spread out your arms and legs and not touch the side. It's only 11 inches of water, and it's filled with 1,000 pounds.
You know that when you're in it, because I feel like you get lost in it because it's so big and you're so buoyant that I was doing some stretches and sort of at one point moving around, and at one point my bottom barely grazed the bottom of the tub, but I tell you what, I couldn't feel sides or bottoms on it.
And that's part of the sort of the idea that's less sensory. So there's nothing touching your skin. The water makes you buoyant. The water is also body temperature, so you kind of lose a sense of where you begin and the water is because the temperature is the same.
Yeah, you're one with the water.
It's dark, it's quiet, and everything starts to relax. So good for people with fibromyalgia, which is chronic nerve pain. So when you take that, it's an anti-gravity machine. You're in there and you lose the gravity, and then the nerves feel better. Arthritis, muscles feel better. You're in magnesium. Epsom salt is high mineral in magnesium. Magnesium is really fascinating because you can take magnesium, but it's hard to absorb it through your digestive system. Magnesium actually absorbs much better if you are putting it on your skin. So by laying in that tank and you're absorbing that magnesium helps to reset your sleep cycles for people with insomnia. Incredibly relaxing. A lot of people, their first experience in the tank is it's hard to relax. And then a lot of people after that, their whole experience is, I don't know, it's weird. I like going in there, but I feel like I just sleep the whole time.
I blinked a few times and then I was done. Are you sure?
Yeah,
it ran the entire hour?
I know, and that's what it feels like. It feels like sometimes the time, and you lose sense of time and everything around you, which is good. It's incredibly relaxing, and when it's done, everything we offer I always equate it to brushing your teeth. Like, it's good to brush your teeth once and your teeth are clean, but honestly, you have to brush your teeth every day. These kind of wellness things are preventative. So you do them periodically to keep yourself well, as opposed to waiting. That's the difference between wellness, Western medicine wellness, and sort of Eastern wellness, is this philosophy of you're doing the things to keep you well so you don't get sick.
Exactly.
And so you have to do them periodically.
That's right.
And so, and all of our modalities, the way we've set it up is that it makes it easy to access it over and over and over again.
Everybody is looking in the new year for something that they can jump onto, something to reignite their fire, something to motivate them, a community to get them feeling like they're at home and getting them back on track. I would encourage folks that are looking for a new home for their wellness or that want to try something different, that know that they can be in a place of education, a place of support, a place of inclusivity, safety, and that's genuinely been vetted by a tough critic. You can check out Teri and check out Wellness Hot Yoga. You know, for more information, you can check out the website wellnesshotyoga.com. You can reach out to Less Like More Heart. I would encourage everybody to just remember that it's easier to add in good things than it is to focus on omitting things that you want to change. And by taking an extra step in your wellness and by taking a float session or a red light therapy or signing up for a wellness yoga membership, that is starting that small little bit of snow down this mountain where it's just going to pick up speed and pick up more snow. And next thing you know, 6 months later, 12 months later, you are going to be closer, if not already arrived, at the version of you that you really wanted to be. And you just needed that next step. And the next step is really just action, taking action to invest in yourself and to take the leap into something for the sole purpose of bettering yourself. And I really feel safe in letting you know that Wellness Hot Yoga is a place that my trusted counsel could be advised to go to with a completely clear conscience. And I am a new customer. I mean, like I said, I don't show up with wet hair and set all the time, but it felt so good. I know that people have the best interest of the clients that are there. I know they're willing to go the extra mile to make sure people are safe. I had 2 folks in the room asking me where I was going to have my towels and where can I put this grab bar and how are you going to be most comfortable and where should this be? And not in an overwhelming sense, but in the, we really are here for you. Yeah. And when you're starting out with anything new, it's important to have that support. And so Wellness Hot Yoga in Haverhill is doing it right. Teri, thank you for everything that you're doing in the community. And I look forward to our friendship. And I look forward to you guys finding out about this resource. So until next time, as you know, put your best foot forward.